there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logsden.
And I'm Jeff Searcy.
And Jeff, all of our listeners are running downstairs. It's Christmas morning, the day this episode comes out. They're running downstairs. They're curious to see what the podcast fairy has brought them.
Oh, no.
And they brought him a steaming turd known as Horror for the Holidays, a brand new episode right on Christmas Day.
Wow, hot and fresh.
Yeah, just what they wanted, just to open their presents and see this flaming piece of shit podcast sitting in their podcast feed.
You know, they subscribed for it. It's their fault.
But recently, Jeff and I were approached by a major corporation.
Oh, yes.
We were asked by Honda if they could be our major sponsor. We would only have to change the name of our podcast to Horror for the Honda Days.
Yes.
And
of course, we agreed.
yeah, of course, yeah, we're thinking about it. I mean, we papers still have to be signed, but yeah, we might be Horror for the Honda Days soon.
That would be amazing if that happened.
One of the deals is free cars for me and Jeff and Jeff's wife and my wife, and
Yeah, let's say we need new cars, definitely.
and they and every episode would be constantly interrupted with Honda ads. It'd be like a minute of us talking, and then buy a new Honda CRV.
When the roads get snowy this Christmas, you know what I want to have, Jay? The brand new Honda Odyssey.
Oh man, we'd get those John Cena Honda, because I think he's the spokesman for Honda. It certainly sounds like it.
I have seen him in a lot of Honda ads, yeah.
And so we'd be talking. We'd be in the middle of a thought, and then it would just cut in with a Honda ad with John Cena talking.
Well,
Double the length of our podcast, because every minute would be interspersed with John Cena talking for a minute.
that would be great. I think that'd be a real boost to the listener's experience.
Rapple-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Buy the new Honda Odyssey.
Well, Jay, you keep saying that John Cena's the Honda spokesman, but I've never seen him in any ads.
I also don't know if it's John Cena. I am bad at identifying voices on their own most of the time. But it sounds like John Cena. So
Maybe he said, "Hey, it's me, John Cena."
maybe he did. But let's get into it. Let's kick off the Christmas Day right for all of our listeners. We got our Christmas Eve candle from Yankee Candle burning. We got our notes ready. We're just setting up the decorations as we deck the halls for 2006 Black Christmas.
Yay.
Remake of the 1974 movie. A loose remake.
Yeah, kind of. Well, don't worry. If you thought you might forget the 1974 movie, they'll remind you every 5 minutes about it.
Certainly, yeah. A lot of references, a lot of Easter eggs. I will mention them as they pop up. Certainly. Perfectly. We always talk about that sweet spot for release dates. Can you get much better than December 25th, 2006?
No.
Maybe December 24th. Maybe put it out on Christmas Eve. That's the only thing I could think of.
I think they pretty much nailed it for a Christmas horror movie. Although I don't know how much that would help their box office, because a lot of people aren't going to be going to the movies on Christmas.
I know for some people it is like a tradition. I've always been more of when my family would do stuff like that, it was always more of a Thanksgiving go see a movie. But I know people do go see movies on Christmas Day.
Some of them.
There was apparently a big controversy surrounding the release of a Christmas horror movie on Christmas. Nowhere near enough to get it pulled out of theaters like it did for Silent Night, Deadly Night or anything like that. But people did get their knickers all in a twist.
People really got their eyes gouged by this movie.
And I didn't write it down, but there was like a really good response to the people who were complaining about you need to keep Christmas, beautiful or whatever. None of these horror movies on Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And there was like a really expertly crafted response from somebody. If I get a chance, here, let me see if I can find it real fast.
Let Jay find this. Yeah, we got to keep Christmas beautiful because that's the important part of Christmas. Yeah, I never understood why there's this huge controversy. It's like if you don't want to see the violent Christmas movie, don't go see it.
Right.
Like it's not like they were trying to hide what it is in the trailer or anything. I mean, even in, I'd say one of the best Happy Christmas trailer fake outs was the Violent Night trailer from a couple of years ago, where like the first half seems like a weird Christmas comedy.
Film historian Michael Gurnow of the Horror Review countered Liberty Counsel's complaint, writing, "Such crimes occur throughout the year, including at Christmas," and cited both a mass murder and murder-suicide that occurred on Christmas Day in 2005 in Virginia.
Yeah.
Like, which I think that's just...
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because one of my favorite podcasts, Deep Fat Fried, they did a Christmas special one year that was just 2 hours of recounting murders and tragedies that have happened on Christmas Day.
There's a whole on Peacock you can watch like a what do they call, like a real crime show?
Yeah.
That's just called like Homicide for the Holidays. I've watched a couple of those.
It's me, true crime guy. This is now a true crime podcast.
I mean, at some point we might do a stocking stuffer just on that show, on all the episodes of that show, and then we will be a true crime podcast.
And it was then that they realized that the killer had escaped. Thank you. This has been episode 357 of What Happened to Jay Loxton.
I was murdered by Jeff.
No. No proof of that, audience.
Written and directed by Glenn Morgan, who also was involved in
The X-Files.
X-Files, Final Destination 1 and 3, the 2003 remake of Willard.
Yeah. He's part of a writing duo with James Wong, another writer-director.
Okay.
They do a lot of projects together. Yeah, a lot of famous stuff. X-Files and Final Destination, probably their two top famous things.
The Final Destination connection did kind of get me thinking about, like, man, a Final Destination set at Christmas would be pretty cool.
I mean,
maybe the second movie is a little bit, but I think it's more Thanksgiving.
I was gonna say, I think pretty much all these movie franchises are going to be getting a Christmas entry because of how popular they are now.
Right.
Because, I mean, if Scream is doing it, the other movies are going to follow.
Well, if Scream does it, I guess.
They're definitely going to do it. Just going to have to get through their little difficulties, quote unquote, that are going on right now.
The other thing I noticed too was also involved with Jordan Peele's company. I think I saw.
He did. I believe he was the producer on the new Twilight Zone series.
Some of those episodes were pretty good.
Yeah,
there's a Christmas episode of those too, so we might at least have to check that out. Roy Moore also credited for the screenplay for the 1974 film. Katie Cassidy plays Kelly Presley. Earlier in 2006, she was also in the remake of When a Stranger Calls.
Oh boy.
I thought that was kind of a neat little connection between the two movies, since they're very similar, in a lot of ways. And was also in the Elm Street remake, and is probably most famous for being Laurel in the Arrowverse.
Famous. Hold on. Famous. I'm air quoting right now.
Buffy's sister Michelle Trachtenberg is Melissa. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is Heather. And if we ever watch Grindhouse and we see the original trailer for Thanksgiving, she is Lee in Death Proof. So Lacey Chabert, of Hallmark Christmas movie fame, is Dana.
Nice.
Kristen Cloak plays Lee. She is also in Willard and Final Destination, and is married to Glenn Morgan, our writer-director.
Wow, how did that happen?
When I started looking, I was like, man, she's in like everything he's done. Went and clicked. Oh, look, they're married.
It all makes sense now.
Andrea Martin returns, this time as Mrs. Mack. Which that's probably one of my favorite things in the movie, is that they were at least able to get one of the people back.
Yeah. Well, I wish she would have been more Mrs. Mack in this one. Because that was one of the things that carried the original.
Yeah, she's certainly not as fun of a Mrs. Mack. I want to say his name was Kanan Weeb. Weeby maybe plays I think young Billy, like 5-year-old Billy in this movie. Is Mark in the Haunting Hour episode A Creature Was Stirring, which is kind of one of the origin stories of this podcast.
Yes.
Indeed. Derek McIver, who plays Centaur Guy in Trick or Treat, is the orderly in this movie. Jodie Rassicot was in William Shatner's Tech War, Tech Lab. I bring this up just so Star Trek people have to think about Tech War.
Tech War.
A thing that I have no reference for. I only know that it's like a William Shatner, like, created sci-fi universe.
It's a something. All right.
Greg Keane, who plays Kelly's father in this, is also in a 2022 movie called #Xmas, which I thought may be a sequel to this movie, but I don't think it is.
No, we're gonna have to add it to the wheel.
I looked at it and I was like, oh no, it has nothing to do with Black Christmas. $9 million budget, which may make this one of our biggest budgeted movies. I'd say it's probably this, Gremlins, and Krampus.
Yeah, probably.
And like, you know, Gremlins would have to probably be adjusted for inflation. But,
True. Yeah. Well, you know, Jay, I know you're a big fan of Black Christmas movies and the Black Christmas franchise. You know who you have to thank for this entry in the series?
Oh yeah, what was the joke you and I were saying to each other? A movie about a bunch of sorority girls being like receiving threatening phone calls and feeling threatened, and it's produced by the Weinstein Company.
Yes, Harvey Weinstein, Jay. Maybe you should send him a thank you note.
$20 million gross worldwide, which I mean made it more than its money back.
Yeah, I mean on a $9 million budget, that's not terrible.
Another homage to the original, filmed in Canada, just like the original movie.
God damn it.
I bring this up just for you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm, I know you do.
Tagline, let the sleigh ride begin, SLAY.
Good tagline.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
All the girls, I don't think you see all their last names or hear all their last names, but I think all of their last names are supposed to be like references to rock and roll stars. I know it's like Kelly Presley, and I know one other one was like, maybe was another one like stuck out to me. I don't remember what it is right now, unfortunately, but I think I read somewhere that like all the last names are rock and roll.
I was gonna say Claire's last name was Crosby.
Okay.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yeah. I also saw that when they were casting the girls, they wanted all of them to kind of be of a similar level, so you weren't sure which one was going to be the final girl, which I thought was a neat choice.
Yeah, that's good foresight on their part.
Like, you know, there are a couple moments where I'm like, oh, well, and Claire's clearly the Claire.
Yeah.
And there's like a moment where one of the girls, I'm like, oh, I think Dana maybe is the. Yeah, I'm like, oh, there's the Barb.
Yeah.
I might have a different girl for the Barb.
The much worse Barb.
And like, there's one or two others where I'm like, oh, that's clearly this person, but yeah, like there's, you know, I've seen this a handful of times. And I was still kind of sitting there, like, on one of the recent rewatches, and I was like, wait, which one of these is the final girl? Like,
yeah. It is a little less obvious than the original.
Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of my personal experience is that I think I saw this when it came out in theaters. I think I saw it at one point. But I know I've watched it. I think before you and I watched it, you know, the last time for our first initial watch, I think I'd seen it about 5 times or so.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I'm probably up to about 7.
My first experience with this, knowing about it was last year when you said, all right, we did Black Christmas. Now we have to do Black Christmas 2006. And then I watched it with you. Then I watched it again to take notes. And I probably won't ever watch it again after that.
I did, I had seen this. I'm pretty sure before I'd seen the 1974 version. Like I said, I'm sure I saw it in theaters or something. But yeah, but like I know I've watched it at least a handful of times before we watched it for this. But yeah, like you know, if I would have just been going off of you know, the 2006 movie, I probably would have been like, oh no, it's nowhere near as, you know, like you know, I have no interest in seeing the original, but it was just seeing the original I went like, oh no, this movie's great. Like,
yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's part of what colored this review for me. Like I was telling you earlier. We went and saw the original Black Christmas in theaters, 2 days after we watched this. Mm-hmm. And it was like, this does not compare that favorably.
Right. It would be the same, I'm sure, like, going to watch, like, the Rob Zombie Halloween or the Nightmare on Elm Street. Everyone knows the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street sucks. But, like, even the Friday the 13th, seeing one and then seeing, like, the original, you'd kind of...
Yeah, true.
But this movie does have its merits. Where to watch? Tubi, Shudder. I think a couple other like free sites. Certainly buy copies online places.
Yeah. You can get copies for pretty cheap. They were like around $5 to $7
Yeah.
on Amazon. So.
I've got both. I think the American uncut version on DVD, and then I also I didn't check it out, but apparently I have the European version as well because below Black Christmas it says Noel Noir.
Nice.
And I've heard that has a slightly different cut of the movie, but I've not watched it yet. But I thought that was kind of neat that like there are two kind of different cuts of the movie.
Probably those limp-wristed Europeans can't take eye gouges.
Man, there's a lot of those in this movie. We'll get into it. We'll do our synopsis here. We start off with the outside of like what kind of looks like a prison. We learn is more of a
Like mental institution, basically.
Yep. Oh no, sorry. We start off outside the sorority house with a bunch of shots, and we get the song "Everybody's Waiting on the Man with the Bag" playing as we see kind of like it kind of shoots around like the outside of the house, a little similar to the original, kind of like taking different shots of like the party going on inside. But this time it's not really meant to be a POV like it was in the original.
Which I thought was kind of a weird choice. It's like, that was such a good opening. I'm surprised they didn't rip it off.
Claire is in her room writing a letter to someone named Lee, and she hears some rustling in her closet. She goes to kind of investigate, doesn't see anything. As she gets up, the camera kind of pans down to under the bed, and we see someone like hiding in kind of the shadows underneath her bed. She sits back down and reaches for the pin for the letter she was writing and can't find the pin anymore. And she's kind of like feeling around for it, looking for it. And then a bag gets thrown over her head, and the pen gets stabbed into her forehead. And we get just the immediate title card, Black Christmas.
Yeah.
I think an awesome opening, or certainly like an awesome use of the title card.
I think Billy does escape first, doesn't he?
No, then we go to the sanitarium.
Do we?
Yeah.
I thought the first thing we saw was him dressed as Santa killing that guy.
At least the version I saw, it's the sorority, and then it goes to Billy escaping.
Could be. I don't know. Maybe I watched the European cut by accident.
But yeah, it's the Clark Sanitarium, a reference to Bob Clark, our original director.
Oh boy.
And then it's the criminally insane ward 1225, like the Christmas ward.
Wow.
There's a guy going around giving out food to all the different people on the criminally insane ward. There's one guy who says something like he opens the thing and he's like, "Hark, wise men approach from the east," or something like that. And I there's like a name on the door, and I've wondered like if that's a reference. I didn't like stop to look it up, but I'm like, I wonder if that's a reference to something. We then get like a guy dressed as Santa Claus kind of walking onto the floor behind him, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I got lost. I was delivering toys to kids."
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And then he stops and he goes, "Oh, is that Billy Lenz? Is that the guy who killed all those people all those years ago?" And he starts talking with the orderly and the guy who was delivering food about how basically Billy tries to escape every year. At Christmas time, tries to go home. Talks about how he murdered his family. Just kind of vague discussions about it.
He did things.
But we do get like a great scene where they slide the little gate open and we see like Billy's whole room, and all it is illuminated in like red and green Christmas lights.
Yeah, I do like the use of Christmas colors in this movie.
We go to outside the sorority house in Kyle's car. He tells Kelly at one point, "I'm your family now," when she talks about how normally she spends her Christmases with her family at home. Mm-hmm. And we'll hear those words, "I'm your family now," quite a bit throughout this movie.
No, I don't think so, Jay. I'm pretty sure that'll be the only time.
And then she gets out to leave to go into the sorority house to spend time with her sisters. There's a secret Santa party going on. We're introduced to a lot of the girls here. Kelly, Megan, Dana, Mrs. Mack. I'm trying to remember all of them.
Who have you listed so
Heather.
far? Claire. Yeah,
Oh, well, Claire's already dead.
Yeah, well, she's still there. Claire's dead, Jay, but she's still in the house.
It's true. You're right. She is.
Jeez.
Melissa, I think that was the one I was missing. And so we get kind of a whole introduction to all these different girls and kind of their different personalities. I think a lot of them are a little interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple that have like some different, like I said, one of them is clearly the Barb. and you know, and Claire is obviously the Claire.
Yeah, they do not. I will say they do not stand out as much as the characters in the original do.
Right. Lauren, that's one of the girls.
yes.
Lauren is the Barb. And she, you know, she's like getting drunk and she's kind of trying to impart drunken wisdom on other people in the house the whole time. But yeah, like I think both Michelle Trachtenberg's character, and Kelly and Heather, I think are three that I'm like they're all kind of the Jess. Like they all kind of seem like the Jess during the movie.
That's true.
But they're all kind of celebrating, talking about Christmas, and each of them kind of have their own attitude about them. And Mrs. Mack is looking for Billy's present every year at the sorority. You know, they kind of tell the story of Billy and they leave a present for him under the tree. And this is when we kind of get our first of 3 flashbacks. But I think we'll just kind of talk about our flashbacks now, or kind of talk about Billy's backstory now. Basically, Billy was born with some kind of liver disease that causes skin to turn yellow.
I'm jaundiced.
Yeah, he looks like the Yellow Man from the Sin City movie. Like it's the exact same effect. His mother basically hated him, but like you know, he had a really good relationship with his dad. When he was 5, his dad got killed by his mom and her lover.
And they bury him in the crawl space.
Yeah, they bury the dad in the crawl space, and Billy kind of gets locked in the attic, but he's able to like kind of crawl throughout the house and still kind of like explore, even though he's locked in the attic.
Gee, I hope that doesn't come in handy for him later.
The mom and the boyfriend get married, and they're trying to have a kid, but the guy's always drunk all the time and can't keep it up.
I'm impotent.
So one night the mom sneaks up there and has an incest baby with her son.
Ah, yes, of course.
And
What you would naturally do.
And then a couple years later, Billy comes down, kills the whole family, kills the mom and the husband, and eats one of Agnes, his sister's eyes, his sister daughter.
And he also cuts cookies out of her flesh.
Yeah, and then kills the mom and cuts cookies out of her flesh and bakes them. And when the cops come and find like Agnes with an eye poked out, and Billy's just sitting there like tearing into these beef jerky cookies made out of human flesh, which I think is kind of a neat little scene.
Neat little scene, says Jay Logston. Eat your mom, you know.
Billy then, but we cut back to the sanitarium. Billy like has a note for the the orderly that says like, "I'm going home for Christmas." The orderly says something a lot, you know, basically he's like, "No, you're not," you know, ha ha ha. Looks in, Billy's gone. He goes to kind of investigate. Billy crawls out from underneath the bed and stabs him in the face with a candy cane.
Classic.
I love the candy cane like stab kill, but like man, that thing would snap instantly. Like you couldn't stab somebody with a candy cane.
I don't know. Goldberg pulled it off.
Goldberg pulled it off. David Harbour pulls it off in Violent Night. There's this one, but every time I see it, I'm like, it's a great kill and it's a great look. But like that candy cane would just snap right when you.
Not if you use what's that brand? I don't remember. Hawaiian Punch brand candy canes, Jay. The only candy cane that won't snap when you break it off in somebody's neck.
The Santa that was on the floor is kind of making his way out the door. Billy appears behind him and like does something to him. You know, I assume like bash him in the head with a hammer. There's this big like pool of blood that appears on the floor, and then we see Billy in the Santa costume,
which somehow has no blood on it.
Right, which I think is really funny, carrying the Santa's bag out to the dumpster, dumping it in and running away.
Don't forget, this is also where you learn one of Billy's abilities, because Santa's flirting with this nurse lady that walks by, and then she goes around the corner and leaves, and then Billy does his fake woman voice like he does on the phone, and tries to lure him around the corner.
Oh, is that what it's supposed to be? I always thought that like just. I guess I never caught that.
Yeah. That's what he's trying. I think they're doing that as a reference to him doing his woman voice on the phone in the original.
Then we cut to one of the other girls, I think Megan. We're back at the house now. She's looking at a video of Kyle, Kelly's boyfriend, and her that got posted online of them fucking.
We're fucking.
And she, you know, and at one point, like she seems very distraught about the whole situation or whatever.
Well, yeah, because now her friend's gonna find out.
And she hears something going on in the house. Kind of hears noises, I think, up in the attic and goes to
Yeah.
investigate. Finds Claire's body and then gets jumped by someone. And
Who could it be?
I think gets a bag thrown over her head, and then just gets her eye ripped out through like a hole in the bag, and like maybe we see the eye get eaten. I don't remember.
If not, it's certainly implied that the eye is eaten again.
There's a lot of like jumping between kind of what the girls are doing in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of hard to like keep track of like every single little thing they're all getting up to.
Well, and see, that's what people complain about, the pace of the original. That's one of the complaints I see about the most. But it's like, I don't know. I kind of prefer that, like letting it breathe a little bit and building tension to this movie, because it seems like something is happening like literally every second, and you have no time to stop and process anything.
Right. Like they're all kind of huddled in the living room or whatever, getting ready to celebrate Christmas. And then they get like a phone call, like a threatening phone call, just kind of like in the original. They then go to check the caller ID, and I think it's either Megan or Claire's phone like made the call. So they go up to investigate, their room. No one's there. They go in, like when they go into Megan's room, there's a jump scare when Kyle's already in there or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's Megan's sister shows up at some point.
Yeah, when they go back downstairs.
Or is it Claire's sister?
Claire's sister is there. Lee to prove that she knows the house. She's like, "Oh, I see you guys always leave a Christmas present for Billy." I see that tradition's continue because Mrs. Max doesn't really remember her. And then she's like, "Oh, this is new. Billy's never left a present for the people here." And Mrs. Max like, "What? That doesn't happen." They open it up and they find a doll with like the eyes removed from it.
Oh boy. I hope that doesn't portend anything nasty, Jay.
But yeah, we get that scene where Kyle is kind of in Megan's room, and he and Kelly are kind of talking. Kelly's trying to find where Megan and Claire are. Worried about these phone calls.
Kyle's trying to make sure she doesn't see the video of him fucking her friend.
Yeah, and so he's like trying to like avoid her from seeing it, and then like it goes on to screensaver at one point, and then we get the scene where like all the power in the house gets shut off. And then the screensaver pops up, and we see it right on the front of the laptop.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing is Kyle's like, "Somebody stole my tapes," and it's like, which implies that there's more than one.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, what a dirtbag Kyle is.
We've got some experience with some Christmas dirtbags now that we've seen Krampus the Christmas Devil.
We also, I forgot to mention at one point we're introduced to Eve, who's another girl who lives in the house. Her mother's a legacy who passed away and used to be part of the sorority. And she's got blonde hair. She wears gloves, and she's got kind of big Coke bottle glasses and acts very strange. All the girls think she's a little weird.
I can't see a thing without my glasses.
Dana, one of the girls, goes out and smokes a cigarette. And I think this is one of the funniest scenes of the whole movie. She's sitting there smoking her cigarette, and there's an icicle melting. And what are the odds? It lands right on the tip of her cigarette.
Damn.
And so she kind of turns and drops it under the deck, and then she hears some rustling going on underneath.
Well, she has to go under to flip the main breaker, I think, is the reason she goes out there.
Yeah, and so she goes and she kind of looks around and gets ambushed by someone with blonde hair. Ooh, maybe it's Eve.
But it's not, because she's dead in her car.
And gets is kind of able to fight off the person. It grabs like maybe a reference to Santa Claus. Grabs a hand
A
rake,
little garden rake to attack with.
and stabs the assailant with it. The assailant then like rips it out of their own arm, and then like I think just like bashes her in the head with it.
I mean, like you do.
And so she gets killed underneath the thing, underneath the deck.
The thing. And Jay is officially an old man now.
They kind of, all the girls kind of go outside to look for Dana, try to figure out what's going on. When they realize she hasn't come back, I think one of them sees that Eve's car is still there. They open up the car door,
And there she is dead.
and Eve's head rolls out, and her body's still sitting in the car. I assume kind of a reference to the police car in the original, the
Yeah.
policeman in the original.
Definitely.
they call the cops, and the cops are like, "Oh no, with the snowstorm and everything,
We got no units to send. It's gonna be hours.
yeah, it's going to be hours before we can get there." And so the girls are kind of split. At one point, our Barb character gets taken up to like take a shower. I kind of like this scene too, where like her foot moves a piece of tile, like her toe moves a piece of tile, and then Billy's like looking through the tile in the bathroom. I think that's such a neat little moment.
It's real Porky's through the floor situation.
Yeah. Very similar at least. I mean, Bob Clark did direct Porky's. But yeah, so the girls are kind of split on what they're going to do. Some of them want to stay put, grab whatever weapons they can and defend themselves, while like Mrs. Mack and Heather, they're going to leave. They're going to go get help. So Mrs. Mack's able to like get her car started, and they go outside, but the windshield is all frosted over.
Yeah.
And at one point, like Mrs. Mack pulls out the ice scraper, and Heather's like, "The fuck is that?" And she's like, "It's an ice scraper. These fucking stuck up bitches."
Yeah.
And she starts to scrape the ice away on the windshield, and she like scrapes a little hole, and and like the car starts rocking, and then she sees like Billy's eye peeking through like the window, and then there's just this big splatter of blood up on the front of the windshield.
Nice.
I believe this is what then causes Mrs. Mack to like kind of back away, and like she runs into like the side of the house, which causes an icicle to fall from the top of the house.
I've been icicled.
And impale her through the eye, killing her instantly, and also blocking like the garage door from being able to be opened.
Damn, what a shame. But no, I just gotta say, Mrs. Mack not nearly as fun in this movie, and also way dumber than the real character from the original movie. She would never be like, "Oh yeah, let's try to, in this snowstorm that's so bad, there's not enough cops to come get us because of a giant pile up on the freeway. Let's try to drive away." Besides, everybody knows that the real Mrs. Mack has like 10 bottles of whiskey stashed around the house.
Right, there's no reference to like Mrs. Mack getting like super drunk. There is, however, a reference to, in the original, the girls give Mrs. Mack like a nightie. Yeah. And in this one, they do the same thing. And Andrea Martin's like, "If only I had a man to wear it for."
Yeah, her response in the original is better. I need a chastity belt.
Yep. Oh man, but yeah, Andrea Martin does a good job with what she has. It's always nice in these movies to like see someone from the original involved.
Honestly, that's one of the biggest weaknesses for me. Is that the characters just aren't as strong in this one.
Melissa lays down in her bed. We then get our Barb kill where she, where someone in this one, she thinks someone's in bed with her. Mm-hmm. She kind of reaches and grabs the crystal unicorn to stab the person. There's no one there. And then she gets jumped and stabbed with the person with the crystal unicorn. We see it's a blonde-haired woman, but it's not Eve.
Well, it can't be Eve now.
Yeah, because we now know Eve is dead, and the blonde-haired woman says, "You're my family now," or something like that.
Oh, boy.
Because we hear it over and over and over again over the course of this movie. Kelly and Lee go to find Melissa. They find her corpse with the eyes plucked out.
Lauren. We're missing up the girls already.
Are we? Yep, you're right.
I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, and then Kyle returns to the house. He's looking for Kelly.
Let me just go investigate this attic with you, Kyle. Oh, sure, that sounds like a great idea. I hope nobody gets pulled up into the attic.
Yep, yeah, Kyle gets pulled up into the attic in
the most predictable thing ever.
Yeah, but also kind of reminisces to Mrs. Mack's death. Yeah. I believe I forgot to mention Melissa gets killed with an ice skate to the back of the head, like chopping off the top of her head.
Nice gory kill. I'll give it that.
Like I think she realizes the killer's in the room with her. She's able to kind of fight him off, and then like the ice skate gets picked up and just chops off the top of her head as she's trying to escape.
It's weird, Jay, that some of these kills seem like Billy kills, and some of them seem like some weirdo trying to collect people's eyes.
Yeah, some weird blonde woman. Turns out there's two killers.
Oh no.
When Lee and Melissa make their way upstairs, or Lee and Kelly make their way upstairs into the attic, they're able to. They find...
Oh, look, it's Agnes.
Yeah, they find Agnes. At one point, or I think maybe one of the girls realizes that it's Agnes.
Mm.
And they're like, Agnes, your dad's not coming home, or your dad's not coming home for
Your
Christmas.
brother's not coming to save you.
And then she's like, no, but my daddy is.
Yes, oh God, yes, my daddy brother.
And we see we see Claire's body in the rocking chair, just like in the original, bag over her head. We see a Christmas tree like covered in plucked out eyeballs and a couple decapitated heads and like bodies posed around it.
Some of the nice stuff, you expect at Christmas.
Agnes like lights a couple candles and they all start kind of struggling amongst themselves. Of
course, we get shoved off into the crawl space in between the walls.
Yep.
I wonder what would happen if Billy got in there.
Yeah, and Billy starts like climbing up the crawl space when Kelly gets stuck in there and Agnes is like climbing down, and then also the Christmas tree gets pulled down and all the candles do, so it starts a fire. Lee is able to free Kelly.
I was gonna say she hears the commotion going on in the walls or whatever and starts breaking open a hole.
Is able to get like a weight and like punches a hole in the wall enough for them to escape. They kind of run out into the snow. Merry Christmas. You think the movie's done. This would be a perfect place to end it.
So you assume Agnes and Billy are gonna burn to death, and yeah, this would be a nice place to end it. Good wrap up. And I mean, you could even leave it open and say they didn't burn to death for a sequel if you wanted to.
But instead, we find ourselves now in a hospittal, and this is probably the longest part of the whole dang movie.
Oh my God, it's like what, 15 minutes, but feels like 45.
Kelly and Lee are there, like getting X-rays. There's a newspaper. There's a news reporter there talking about like the events that happened earlier in the movie, what we'd seen earlier that night. The mortician like kind of brings down some bodies, hears some rustling in one of the bags, opens one of the bags. It's Agnes's dead body. He zips it back up, goes to like open another one, and Billy sits up, attacks him with one of the tools, like kills the guy. So, hey, we know Billy's still alive. Agnes is still alive.
He's a little extra crispy though.
Yeah. They do a nice thing with his yellow skin, but he's got like these black and red burn marks that look really neat. Lee is in the room with Kelly, and they take Kelly to go get some X-rays. Yeah. And so Lee hears kind of commotion up in the ceiling tiles, and kind of walks around to kind of look to see if she can find some help. Goes back into the room, and Kelly's laying right there in bed. She's fine, except that it's actually Agnes with her blonde hair. Lee kind of tries to fight her off, but gets her neck snapped. Kelly gets brought back in. She's like, where's Lee? Oh, she must have stepped out to go to the bathroom. Also, there's the door to the room that Kelly is in. When the nurse goes to take her out the first time, the door is stuck because it's got to be a reference to the original movie.
Yeah.
I loved that. That was one that like only hit me on my most recent rewatch. I'm like, oh, the door is stuck, just like in the original movie.
Yeah.
Kelly fights Agnes, shocks her with the defibrillator paddles, and kills her. Billy comes down through the ceiling tile. Kelly's kind of able to escape. She makes her way into the hall as Billy gives chase. There's like a hospital orderly just kind of walking around delivering food to people who like Kelly knocks over his tray, and Billy picks up a scalpel and just kills the dude like right there. Gives chase to Kelly. They're kind of fighting over a banister. Kelly's able to kind of overpower him for a second, get the upper hand, and launches him over the side of the railing. And he falls to his death, impaling himself on the top of a big Christmas tree ornament.
Wow.
And we get our kind of final scene as people run to investigate, and the movie ends.
But is it really, Jay? Because we already had one ending. This is the second ending. Maybe we could have a third ending.
Is there a third ending?
There's like 5 more. We looked in the special features.
There are, but they're just variations of this. But yeah, that's kind of our final ending.
I know. Should have just cut it off at the house.
I would have too. I think that's my biggest takeaway is then you could do a whole hospital movie if you wanted to, kind of like Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Which would then be kind of a fun callback reference to the original, to the fact that like maybe Halloween was influenced by Black Christmas.
Yeah.
To have Black Christmas 2 influenced by Halloween 2. I think that'd be kind of a neat way to take it.
Well, Jay, that would have been neat, but this is a cash in.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that.
And I mean, if it seems like we kind of didn't give this our normal synopsis treatment, it's just that the movie kind of jumps around a lot.
Yeah, It's one of those movies that's told like half in flashback, so it's easier to just get the flashbacks out of the way in one go than it is to try to put them in.
And then it's also the I think also it's just like you said, like Black Christmas has time to breathe. The original has time to breathe. This one, it's the thing happens ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And it's kind of hard to when you're taking notes, when you're writing your synopsis down, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, now we jump to this room. Oh, now we jump back here. Oh, now we're over here.
It's just confusing to listen to if you try to tell it that way anyway.
So we kind of did our best, for
this is the main thrust of the story, and we gave you all the backstory you get in the flashbacks just in one go.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could still watch the movie if you're interested and see it.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, let's get into our minutia. If I may, can I request that we start at Broken Bulb, Brilliant Bulb?
Sure.
Kind of everything I say in the rest of the thing, with the exception of quotes, kind of ties back into like what I say in these two spots.
If we must break tradition, then so be it.
My Broken Bulb, this movie feels way longer than the hour and 38 minutes of its runtime. I think you and I have both already kind of made that very clear.
Press X to agree.
The part at the hospital just seems to drag on and on. And I think it would have been better either having Billy die in the house or, cutting some other stuff and then you can expand on this.
Yeah.
Later in the movie, you can have this full scene. Yeah. Or you just trim down some of the hospital stuff. I've heard in the European cut, Billy is dead at the hospital and there's just kind of the Agnes stuff. And maybe that flows a little better. It's hard to say.
I'd say I don't know how much different it would really be because they're only like 6 minutes difference between the two cuts. So, but yeah, I agree with that. I think it's just, it does, people complain about the original. That's one of the number one complaints I see. Like I said earlier, that the pacing feels slow. Or whatever, and not very much happens in the middle of the movie. It all happens at the beginning 20 and the last 20 minutes. It's like this one, even though there's a lot more stuff going on in it, feels way slower to me. It's like the original has kind of like its own flow, its own pace. The characters are able to carry the non-kill scenes better because they're more developed, and you've got the fun jokes and stuff like the whole interaction with the cops at the police station, everything that's just completely gone from this. It's like, yeah, the part of that helps you get through the movie, but this is basically just kill with like weird interspersings of these people trying to act with each other.
Right. No, there's just something about like this one feels like it's almost like a 2-hour movie where like kind of the original to me flies by as a movie.
Yeah, honestly, I would say the original is a slasher. This is more of like a gore fest almost.
Yep. But, not bad, but I think that's just my biggest complaint. Yeah. It's just like this movie seems to drag.
Well, and it's like if you slap the label Black Christmas on it, there's going to be certain expectations for people. So, I mean, I think they're like, well, we'll just do it our way, but we're going to throw in 1 million references to the original.
Right.
That'll keep people happy. And it's like, no, it's just you keep reminding me of a better movie throughout this one. And it's like, why you keep reminding me of that?
But I will say the whole hospital scene, as much as like you said, it feels like it's 45 minutes even though it's 15 minutes. Billy's death is very cool. I do want to at least say that, not completely write off the hospital scene.
It's a cool Christmas death, I get, but they could have happened at the house.
Right.
They could have had a big Christmas tree in the center of the house or whatever. Maybe they light the house on fire and Billy panics or whatever, runs, trips off the balcony and gets impaled on the Christmas tree.
Yeah, that would have been cool too. Broken Bulb for you, is it the same thing or?
But that was basically what I had for mine. Mine was more just compares, not the Black Christmas comparison. Basically, does it no favors. If this was like its own thing without so many references and tie-ins to Black Christmas, I think it would have been better received than it was. Because I mean, it's not a bad movie on its own, but it's like when you take it as a Black Christmas movie and compare it to the original, it just doesn't hold up.
Well, I think part of that too is that like in 2006, like not only was Black Christmas 30 years earlier, but also like media wasn't as hard to get your hands on. Black Christmas was a little bit of a hidden gem of a movie where like now I think it, with the prevalence of like streaming and everything and a lot of physical media collection, a lot more people have a way to watch the original movie, and I think that hinders this where like if you had seen this in 2006 and you'd never like me had never seen the original
Black Christmas. I mean, if you take this movie in a vacuum, like I said, I don't think it's a bad movie, but comparing it to Black Christmas really is where it starts to fall down.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you're right about that. That's like post 2010, basically, it was a whole new world for movie watching because you have like 90% of the movies you want to watch, you can just buy and stream.
Yep.
You don't have to look for it or try to order a physical copy.
Or yeah, like, I could go to like my video store. They would have to have a copy of Black Christmas, or I'd have to go to like FYE or Best Buy or Barnes and Noble and like hope they could order a copy. Where now, I can just go online, go to Scream Factory and order a copy, and like it'll be here in a week.
It used to be, yeah, when you had to like actually go shop for physical media, it would be, whatever is popular, like, the popular movies are always around. And then, if you want something like in the genre film realm or like in the cult classic, you got to hope there's like an anniversary or something where they do a re-release of the Blu-ray or DVD.
Or there's like someone sold their used copy. And...
Yeah, if you could shop around at the used stores, you might be able to find one. But yeah, it's not back in my day. Well, which wasn't really my day. But
I know. We sound like old men yelling at clouds, but it is. I think in 2006 it was to this movie's benefit that it was harder. Where like now nowadays if they did this in 2023, people would be like, no, I can just watch the original Black Christmas.
Well, honestly, I think you hit on something we might want to discuss in like a Stocking Stuffers episode. I wonder how much that has affected just movie criticism in general, having like the entire film canon at your fingertips to reference. Because like, if a movie came out, like you said, 2006, you went to the theater and watched it, you'd be like, that was pretty good.
Yep.
But it's like, because you don't know the full context of it or whatever. Because the only person doing kind of what a lot of people do now on YouTube and places like that was like Joe Bob Briggs.
Right.
Doing like movie review and commentary.
Joe Bob, Elvira,
like those kind of shows on TV, which, you may or may not catch. But it's like, yeah, now you could have like, so you type in Black Christmas to Google and have literally everything about Black Christmas that's ever been said.
Yeah, yep. You have that. You have 3 different movies to watch. You have countless books. You have, all sorts of. You have both Matt's book and the book that's actually about Black Christmas. Like,
yeah, that's like, I wonder how much that has affected just people's judging of movies, because it's like, yeah, and in a vacuum, it's like, because people are like, movies keep getting worse and worse. It's like, are movies worse, or are you just aware of how bad they are because you know all the other movies that existed before?
Right. But for my brilliant bulb, this is kind of one where like I know we're supposed to pick one thing, and so I cheated a little bit, you could argue. The whole kind of technical side of this movie I think deserves praise. The sets look amazing. Like you get a real feel for the house. Like you kind of know. Like I think you do kind of in the original too, but like this one, like the house kind of feels like an additional character in some ways. The lighting is phenomenal. We already said the reds and greens. That continues on throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, no, the Christmas colored themed lighting was really nice.
You get so many like dark hallways that are only lit by Christmas lights and stuff like that. It looks and feels so good. It's one of the reasons why I think I like the movie Christmas Bloody Christmas so much, is it does a lot of the same thing with a lot of just being lit by Christmas lights and stuff like that. The music, not only like did the library do like a good job pulling up a whole bunch of Christmas songs, but you get Everyone's Waiting on the Man with the Bag. I think you get a version of Carol of the Bells.
Yeah.
You get Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. All the girls like ringtones on their phones are Christmas songs.
Yeah.
But like you get kind of like sometimes in some of the scenes, especially in the flashbacks, the flashbacks are very quiet, like, and it's mostly done with just Christmas music and a little bit of narration and a little bit of dialogue. And they just allow the Christmas music, whatever song it is in that scene, to kind of carry the scene. And I think that's really to this movie's benefit. I think that's really good.
I'd agree with that.
To continue to praise, like I said, the technical side of this movie, the gore effects were great. I think the eye kills are getting a little redundant and over the top, and the constant eye gore, but I mean, it all looks good. It all looks really brutal, and so I want to praise just the people who made this movie happen, not necessarily one aspect, but like just kind of all those people at once deserve endless praise, because like they all did a great job.
That's true. My brilliant bulb was the gore effects. That's what I picked, because a movie that leans this heavily on the kills better have good kills and good gore effects, and they did deliver in that regard. Yeah, some of the, especially, there's a few of the kills that are like, I'd say even a little bit for me over the top brutal. Like, we've had some brutal kills, but a few of these eye gouging scenes make you kind of squirm in your seat. The For whatever reason, I don't know, it kind of got me a little bit when Mrs. Mack gets impaled with the icicle. I was like, ouch.
And well, even that has an eyeball like fall
Yeah.
out of the back of Mrs. Mack's head, and it's one of those where it's like even when it's not Billy or Agnes, it's still an eyeball kill. Like,
Oh, and we had the call back to the bag over the head kill from the first one.
yep,
Well, of course, we had the unicorn callback.
yep.
So, a couple of those sprinkled in there for fans of the original.
And Kyle gets pulled up into the
Yes,
attic,
the
just
attic
like in the.
Yeah. Well, without the weird hook swinging scene, though.
Yep.
I kind of missed that.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, that one's a fun one, and that one looks so goofy in the original
Yeah,
movie too.
I know. It's like, it's part of the charm of the original is some of the parts of it that are so goofy, like the cops cracking up about him getting
Getting fellatio.
his fellatio joke and everything. It's like, I wish they would have done a little bit more of that in this movie, because the humor really helps. It kind of like, you would think it might detract from the tone of the movie, but it kind of heightens the tone because you see these people like living their lives, having fun, and then this brutal stuff happens to them.
Yep.
And this one is pretty much just all this brutal stuff happens to us and we're all sad.
Yep.
And when my boyfriend's cheating on me and, everyone hates me.
All right. Well, moving on. Which category you want to do next?
Well, we talked a little bit about it already, so we might as well just do Christmas spirit.
All right. How Christmassy is the movie? How Christmassy are the kills? I 100%. I think for both. Like,
Yep. It's very, very thematic. I'll give it that.
when we've been talking previously, like I've said to you, multiple times, like this is one of the most Christmassy Christmas horror movies. I mean, it's this one. It's Letters to Satan Claus. It's Christmas Evil. I think are like the top three.
There's quite a bit in Krampus too, I'd say.
Yeah. Although, we haven't done that officially for the podcast yet, Jeff.
Well, yes, I've never seen Krampus. I don't know what you're talking about, Jay.
But no, you're absolutely right. There's a lot there. I think Krampus has it, and I think even movies like Christmas Bloody Christmas have it. But there's something about this one where like every scene just feels like you're in a Christmas.
No, they did a great job on that.
Like all the doors have, like I said, like they let Christmas lights light the whole scene. It's snowing outside. They've got, there's a blizzard going on outside. Billy's house, has or Billy's cell has the lights hanging up inside.
Well, there was quite a bit of Christmas in the original, but I think what this one benefits from is that the door had been broken open for Christmas horror a long time in the past. And it was more acceptable at this point, so they were able to kind of layer on the Christmas stuff a little thicker. Because I remember Bob Clark talking about not wanting to put too many Christmas symbols and things in it because he didn't want to draw too much backlash. Which, I mean, I could see more in 1974. In 2006, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah, but yeah, like this one, I think is one of, if not the most Christmas, like actually Christmassy movies we will get. The kills. Billy killing his mom and fucking cutting her open, cutting Christmas cookies out of her flesh.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty Christmassy. But like I wouldn't say they're all like the most Christmassy, but like certainly all the girls' dead bodies being used to decorate a Christmas tree and their eyeballs being hung like ornaments. I think that's really cool.
Well, from what I read, apparently this is like loosely based on the backstory in this one is loosely based on the backstory Bob Clark kind of had like in his head as a working backstory for Billy.
Okay.
And just, he was like, well, I can't show any of this. I'm never going to get away with this in 1974. So he's like, I'll just kind of keep that, as the subtext.
But like I don't know if we said it on the air or off the air, but I certainly do love the more mysterious backstory for Billy.
I like it better that way too. Honestly, it's one of the weakness of all these slashers / killers in these movies. It seems like the more you reveal about them, the less interesting they become. Yep. I mean, we got it with Michael Myers, we got it with Jason. I mean, we got it to a lesser extent with Freddy. But yeah, It just seems like the more you know about somebody, the less fun you have with it.
Yeah, it's always the fear of the unknown. Certainly, really helps drive these movies. And then the last kill. I mean, Billy falling on top of the Christmas tree, like that's a great kill. And then I just love the imagery of him, impaled on the top of the Christmas tree, and there's Christmas decorations all along the outside too. And the candy cane kill. That's also kind of Christmassy. So I'd say the kills are pretty high up. Maybe not the most Christmassy kills, but they're pretty high up. But I think the actual like crunchiness, the actual like feel of Christmas is like 100% throughout this movie.
No, I agree. That is, I'd say if you had to point to something they definitely did right, it would be that.
And yeah, the music too. Like we said before, like all the music is Christmas carols and stuff like that, which is great.
Yeah.
Moving on, Christmas sweater.
Sure.
So sets, costumes. I know you and I have kind of been talking about that. Christmas sweater was originally just supposed to be like, what costume did you like? But we've kind of evolved it into set decoration and stuff like that. Should we rename the category to Christmas wrapping or like wrapping paper?
I don't know, Jay. You want to go insane? You're going to alter a category on me? All right. We could do that. If you want. I think that it does encompass more of what we're talking about.
To me, it kind of felt like it because it's the thing you see. So it's either costumes or decorations or set design or whatever.
No, you know what? I like it. Let's go with it.
There wasn't like a single costume that like stood out to me, but I did appreciate that like all the girls look like they are dressed like it is wintertime. Like they are dressed for the winter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's... Yeah, because none of them really stand out in their costume design, but they do look like they fit in at least. So.
Yeah, like they're all wearing sweaters or like long sleeves. They all look very cozy. Like they all look like they're ready for Christmas. And I think that really helps out a lot.
Yeah, it does. They do miss out on some of the distinctiveness of the original because you had like Barb dressed like a prep or whatever. You had Mrs. Mack in her like big puff coat and everything.
And her hat with the pins in it and stuff like that.
As I kind of missed a little bit of that, but yeah, they're all at least dressed appropriately.
There's no iconic like Jess sweater, like the big black sweater with the hands on it.
Yeah.
But like I think they're all they are just it's winter and they're all dressed like it's winter, and I think that really kind of helps the movie and helps kind of the feel.
Yeah, I was hoping for them to be running around the house in bikinis trying to get away from Billy. It never happened.
Oh, man. One of these days, Jeff, if they let you direct the next Black Christmas movie, that can happen.
You know what? I'm just going to make some kind of bikini beach party Christmas. That's what I'm going to do.
But yeah, sets, lighting, 10 out of 10. And Billy's... The yellowness of Billy looks so good and looks so good in like contrast with like
all the reds and greens.
And I think even in like some of in some of Billy's flashbacks, we don't so much get reds and greens as we get like blues and yellows, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like the jaundice effect. They did a good job.
Yep. Like I don't know if someone would actually look that yellow if they were jaundiced. Like it's very like a neon yellow.
I guess it would depend probably on how bad their jaundice was.
But it looks so good. Like he looks. I mean, he sticks out. You recognize him when you see him, kind of thing. And I really do like that. Quotes. Christmas carols. Favorite quotes.
Oh sure, Jay. Here I'll do one that covers like 20 quotes in this movie. You're my family now.
You're my family now. They're my family now. She's my family now.
He's my family now.
Yep.
They are my family now.
Yeah, it's that is said so many times throughout the movie, and even like, but I said to my wife when we were rewatching it, I was like, oh, he said the thing, and my wife's like, well, that's to set him up as a red herring. And then I'm like, but even people that aren't the red herrings, like, kind of seem to say, like, well, I guess you guys are kind of my family now.
Yes,
like,
I know. Boy.
I think at one point, too, like, Kyle says, you're my family now. And then they get the phone call, and the person says, you're my family now. And I think, you're supposed to think, oh, that's like in the reference to just like having a wart removed from the original.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, that's kind of what that's supposed to be, but it doesn't, it's not the same. And because like the whole "you're my family now" thing ties all the way back to like the flashbacks where, when Agnes is born, the mom says to Billy, like, she's my family now. And then Billy repeats that. And so it's like, that doesn't work so much just because Kyle says it.
Yeah.
Doesn't really, doesn't really mean like, oh, he's in the house. It could be Peter, because Peter said it's just like having a wart removed, and Billy on the phone says it's just like having a wart removed.
Yeah.
Or I guess Claire says it to Peter,
Yeah.
but Jess says it to Peter. Jesus Christ, I'm getting all my people mixed up. But like in this one, it's he says it, but like everyone says it at one point in the movie. But I don't believe every single person is a red herring. But yeah, that is a good one. Michelle Trachtenberg's character Melissa has a line where she goes, "Have you looked outside? It's raining hail the size of Yao's ball sack."
Wow.
Which I just thought was a great line. Also, when the girls go upstairs to try and get Megan to come down, she's like, "Fuck Christmas, just fuck it,"
Yeah.
because she's all distraught about the sex tape being leaked online.
When Dana goes out to try to flip the breaker, and she's starting to crawl under or whatever, she sees some breath, and she's like, "Eve, you crazy bitch, I see your breath."
Yeah, and then gets pulled inside.
Yeah.
Mrs. Mack, when Lee kind of shows up, she's like, "You're a legacy? What year were you here?" And she's like, 92, 93. I don't know. I started late. I quit early. And then Mrs. Mack's like, 1993, I became house mother here. I don't remember you. And Lee goes, "I mean, this was supposed to be such a big fucking weekend, excuse my language, but I drove all the way up here in this shitty weather after blowing off a weekend with a cardiologist." And then Dana just goes, "I love your coat."
Classic.
I just love the like interrupting the whole thought. "Love your coat."
The one you mentioned earlier, when Heather and Mrs. Mack try to leave, and she pulls out the ice scraper, and she's like, "What's that?" Mrs. Mack's like, "You're kidding me, right?"
And then, yeah, I think when she's outside, she's like, "These fucking stuck-up bitches," or something like that.
Yeah. The big Lauren rant I liked about Christmas. So I could just read the whole thing if you want.
Sure. Oh, yeah, I know which one
Yeah.
you're talking about.
"Christmas is more about warding off evil spirits than Halloween. What Christmas shit in this room resembles anything Christian, huh? It's all neo-pagan magic. Christmas tree, a magical rite ensuring the return of the crops. Mistletoe is nothing but a conception charm. 5th century Christians jacked a Roman winter festival 12 days in December when the nights were long and the earth was ruled by demons of chaos. And fucking Santa Claus, this fat voyeur watches you all year long to make sure you live up to his standards of decency before breaking into your house. And that's different from what Billy did. How?"
Now that's a great line. It goes on a little bit, but I do like that. I do like that whole rant. But yeah, that's it for quotes for me. Do you have any others or?
There's a little exchange between Mrs. Mack and the girls. Didn't I see Claire earlier? Isn't she upstairs writing a card to her sister? No, I think her sister picked her up earlier. Remember, this is the occasion for Claire and her sister and her mom to bury the hatchet and rediscover each other. And Dana's like, "I'd like to bury the hatchet with my sister," right in her head.
That is a good one. Oh man.
Oh, and of course, Jay, I almost forgot. She's my family now.
Yeah.
They're my family now.
They're my family now.
We're family now.
Jeff, you and me, we're family now. We
Oh.
just got married.
Oh, God.
We got podcast married.
Oh,
We're
okay.
family now.
This is my podcast husband.
I mean, in a weird way, Jeff, your wife's podcast husband also wound up being her real husband.
Oh, no.
Or not podcast husband, work husband. Also wound up being her real husband.
I should call my wife and tell her that she's my family now.
You're my family now. Merry Christmas. You're my family now.
Oh, God.
Listeners, you're all our family
Yes, you're all family now.
now. Let's move into our final ratings here. We rate these movies off of one of three categories. Are they ho hilarious? Are they seasonally scary? Or are they you'll be sorry? Jeff, why don't you kick us off?
I went with ho hilarious for mine. I didn't think it was really good enough to be seasonally scary, but it wasn't really bad enough to be you'll be sorry. There are a few funny moments. I mean, some good kills, good gore effects, dripping with Critmas. I keep saying Critmas, Jay. I don't know why.
You keep rolling those nat 20s.
Yeah.
Christmas.
I keep saying Christmas the right way now. No, but yeah, Christmas spirit is like over the top in this one. I'd say that if you like, I mean, if you're a fan of slasher movies, you'll probably enjoy this. And if you're a Black Christmas fan, there's plenty of references and stuff sprinkled in where you can go, I know that thing. And you could have a decent time watching it. I mean, I'd say, if we were doing a traditional rating system, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. But yeah, ho 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 hilarious for me.
For me, I did seasonally scary, but in a weird way, like I had this kind of weird realization that like if you kind of separated all three of our categories out into like a chart or like a graph, like with kind of like 3 axes or like all kind of radiating from a center point, this is almost the middle point,
Okay.
like between all three. Like I gave it to seasonally scary because like the gore effects are great and and there are some good like jump scares and stuff like that and whatnot, but like does it feel long like we complained about? Yes. Like it kind of drags. Is the dialogue almost intentionally cheesy at times? Like we keep hearing "You're my family now." There's a couple like lines that are a little cringy, a little cheesy. Yes. But like, are the kills kind of cheesy and fun? Yes. Also that. Is the the even the stabbing Agnes in her fake eye, thinking she killed her, and then she just rips the fake eye and the poker out. Like that's a great moment. Is it not as good as the original? Yes. Like for me personally.
No, I think on pretty much every level it's not as good as the original.
But does it like feel like a bunch of people like kind of poured their heart and soul into making this movie like as Christmassy as possible? Absolutely yes. And is it genuinely creepy and gory at times? Yes. Like so I was like it kind of meets all the category. The thing we complain about the most for a lot of these bad movies, a lot of these You'll Be Sorries, is like, is it is it boring? Like that's kind of the worst thing a movie can be, is boring. And like this movie does is kind of boring and drags.
It has its boring spots for sure.
But like, is it gory as shit? Yeah, and like a little scary, absolutely. But then also like, is it kind of cheesy and fun? Yeah. Like it maybe takes itself a little too seriously, but that kind of makes it fun at the same time. And so it kind of sits like in the middle point of all the movies. But like if I had to kind of point it in one direction, I think I'd say seasonally scary.
Yeah. See, that was I had basically the same thought. I'm like, well, it's not bad enough to be. I mean, certainly has a lot of You'll Be Sorry elements to it, but I didn't think any of them drug it down enough to drag it down into that category. But I was also like, nothing really boosts it up to the level of seasonally scary for me. So it's like, honestly, what really sold it was just thinking back to watching the original and comparing the performances and how I felt watching it. It's like it doesn't give you that same feeling. You don't feel as entertained. You do have more spots of boredom, I think, and that's what pushed it lower category for me.
And and that's not to say necessarily that like Ho 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 Hilarious is always like the lowest category. I think last year you actually gave the original also Ho 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 Hilarious.
No, You'll Be Sorry is the lowest for sure.
But yeah, it's
like, I mean, I would say if it's not a movie that I think I like thoroughly enjoyed watching every part of it or whatever, I usually am not going to give it a seasonally scary.
Right. And we give seasonally scaries to like movies that unnerve us, even if they're not like straight up scary. Yeah. We was that weird, and did you kind of sit there and think about how weird it was the whole time? That's a seasonally scary. Yeah. And like this one has some of those elements, but they're not.
No, Ho 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 Hilarious, I think should be taken as watch it, but just with these caveats.
Yep.
You'll Be Sorry is don't watch it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I kind of agree with that.
Don't waste your time.
I just don't want people to get the wrong idea that like Ho 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 Hilarious is like in between the two. And like, no, it's kind of its own thing. No.
Seasonally Scary it's amazing. Watch it, definitely. Ho 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 Hilarious is watch it, but if you don't enjoy these things, maybe don't.
Yeah, and I would say too, like Ho 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 Hilarious is like, Santa's Sleigh. We both think that movie's funny, but like if you watch it too many times close together, some of the jokes don't land the same way.
You do have to give that movie some time to breathe in your mind before you go back and watch it.
And I think maybe this one's kind of the same way.
I think honestly, that's what holds Santa's Sleigh back from being a seasonally scary for me. Because a seasonally scary for me has got to be something you can just sit down and watch whenever, and it's still good.
Yeah, I could watch Black Christmas every year. I could watch Christmas Evil or Silent Night, Deadly Night every year. Like this one, like It'll probably be a couple years before I pop
Yeah.
2006 back in, unless it winds up being one of the Joe Bob movies or
Well,
something.
I'd say, and Jay is a big Black Christmas fan too.
Yeah.
You know, you may watch this and not watch it. You like never think about it again, but then in 10 years be like, oh yeah, I could watch that. I remember that being pretty decent.
Yep. There was that thing going around. You heard like about the people's Roman Empire,
Yeah.
and my wife went, "I'm pretty sure your Roman Empire is Once Upon a Time at Christmas." And I'm like, "You're right. I do just think about him being like a pear. I thought it was an apple. Like
Yes.
every fucking day,
my
I think
God.
about that scene."
Well, see, that's a perfect example of a hilarious movie.
Yeah, that one is both cheesy and like while taking itself too seriously,
Yeah.
and like and more dramatically in both sides. That's kind of once again illustrates kind of my center point
Yeah.
of like this kind of lands right in the middle of every movie.
No, you know, we're not like your average critics, just giving you a star rating or a what out of 10. You know, we try to bring some nuance to this.
We came up with some real stupid puns to really
It wasn't. It
emphasize.
totally was not just based on 3 Christmas puns we came up with.
It was 100% that. I think the backstory is that I had seasonally scary and ho 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 hilarious, and I'm like, Jeff, we need a third one, and you just like took like a couple minutes, and then you went, "You'll be sorry," and yep, perfect, done, no notes. We got our 3 categories.
Perfect.
But yeah, let's take Billy and Agnes, put them on the naughty list.
Well, I would say
They got a pretty high body count.
I was gonna say they seem more deadly than the original Billy.
Oh, absolutely. I would put them ahead of him.
I don't know. Are they? Do you think they're as deadly as our other Billy from Silent Night, Deadly Night?
See, I think I'd probably put them above him. The one I'm kind of torn with is, are they more or less deadly than kind of our Michael Myers stand-in in Once Upon a Time at Christmas?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I think he could probably take them because they seem to have a lot of trouble killing a girl in a wall,
True.
which is like Billy's natural habitat.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so maybe just below them, but kind of above.
Yeah, I think he's above your typical slasher, well, the duo or whatever.
Yep.
We're counting Agnes too.
Yeah, if we're putting both of them,
Yeah.
I mean, certainly they're more brutal than I think just about any
Yeah.
killer we've had so far.
But no, I think 4 Birds could definitely take him.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, we'll kind of put them right below there. One of these days I'm gonna go back through and actually write this list down, so we're not just randomly putting people in the same spots. Maybe for a stocking stuffer, we'll see what
Yeah.
we'll said and try to
The
map all this
actual
out.
naughty list. Jay went back and listened to the entire podcast, and now he's dead.
It probably would happen. Well, let's celebrate. Let's open up this present we got under the tree, because Jeff, we got an email in a segment we like to call
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
That's right, listeners. We got an email. One of you listeners out there decided to
It's about time.
save Jeff's
I almost
health.
died. Almost died from all the garbage Jay makes me eat.
We got an email from Spencer Ellis, Staten Island, New York. Hey, Jeff and Jay, I just started listening to your podcast after reading about it in Rue Morgue magazine. I listen to you guys all day long while I'm driving for work, and you guys are awesome and hilarious. Well, thanks. That's one of the first people I ever heard call us funny.
I know.
We try to be funny, but I don't think
Wow.
any of our stuff lands.
I don't know how it feels to be treated nicely, Jay. I don't like this.
Thanks for turning me on to Christmas horror movies that I hadn't heard of before. By the way, Black Christmas is my favorite Christmas horror film of all time. Merry Horrormas, and that's from Spencer. And Spencer, thanks for getting in touch, man. Rue Morgue, I would assume that was Matt Dupé's writing
Yes,
about us.
I would almost guarantee that.
I know
yes.
Matt writes for Rue Morgue, so I would assume whatever article, whatever thing mentioned us was probably Matt's doing.
The only Canadian I've ever liked.
Jerome's Canadian. He's great too.
Oh, yeah.
Is
that's
that or is that who you're thinking of? Matt's from Maryland, I think.
No, is Matt Maryland?
I think so.
I swore he was Canadian. No. But no. Oh, yeah, that's true. I do like Jerome, too.
But yeah, no, that Spencer, thanks so much. Thanks for sending that email, and I'm glad that Matt
glad-
writing about us in Rue Morgue got somebody to listen. Spencer then sent us a second email. I don't know if you saw this. Where he said, "Hey guys, I'm sending this email so you can use it for a get out of jail free card when you have no other emails to clean out the inbox and save your gullets from more unneeded holiday snack food. I love the podcast and wish you continued success." And I sent back, "Thanks for the nice email, Spencer. We had already recorded the last episode before your email arrived, so you'll be on the Black Christmas 06 episode." And then in parentheses, "I'm still probably going to make Jeff eat junk food that day anyway. So Jeff, prepare yourself."
Oh, no. This is not how it was supposed to be. It's supposed to get out of this.
So we got Milano Slices Peppermint.
Oh, God.
We got Goldfish Limited Edition Elf Maple Syrup Grams.
Oh, no.
I know how much your wife loves Elf.
Damn you.
And last but not least, we got Warhead Sour Holiday Mix.
Oh, no. Jay, what have you done? Just dropping this garbage on my desk.
Oh, man. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. I know how I'm going to get Jeff.
But yes, thank you, Spencer, for your kind email, even though it did not save me.
All right, Jeff's grabbing one of the Milano slices.
Here we go.
It's half a piece of Milano cookie, chocolate, and then peppermint on top. I thought they looked really tasty. The Elf Goldfish, it's a green bag. It's got Will Ferrell's Elf. There are a couple different shapes. It looks like there might be a jar of maple syrup or like a squeeze bottle of maple syrup. Billy the Elf's hat, Buddy the Elf's hat.
Well, I'm glad Pepperidge Farm remembered to make these delicious. Very good. Nice peppermint flavor. Cookies still decent. I like it. All right, now I'm going to go in for these elf things that I've been hearing so much about.
I just had one. I think these maple syrup grams are really good. Like they're not overly sweet. You kind of get that graham cracker flavor, but you also do kind of get that maple flavor. I think those are really tasty.
No, they are. I like them.
All right, I'm reaching into the bag for the Pepperidge Farm Milano peppermint slices.
You know what, Jay? Pepperidge Farm is going to remember what you did to me today.
You know what? I hope they do. I've got more Pepperidge Farm up in the cupboard for later. But no, smells like the Milano chocolate.
Pretty good.
No, I really like both of those. I think those peppermint slices are awesome.
All right, let's see about these warheads.
I noticed I did initially think these were Sour Patch Kids. When I realized they were Warheads, I was really let down.
Well, you know what? You deserve it.
It's got the Warhead guy with the explosion, but it's a Santa hat. There's 3 different flavors: Christmas tree, a snowflake, and a candy cane.
God.
They're green apple, black cherry, and blue raspberry.
So sour. Christmas tree's not supposed to be like this.
All right, I'm doing one of the candy canes first.
Honestly, not that bad. Pretty decent for a Warhead product, honestly. Not usually a big fan of Warheads, but not bad.
I'd say for a gummy, I used to really like Warheads when they first came out, but like when I had them lately, I'm like all they are is sour. Like they don't even taste like anything. But these are actually pretty good. I just had the cherry candy cane. That one's really good. Reaching in for a green apple and a blue raspberry.
Having tried all 3, I'm thinking the Christmas tree is my favorite. The green apple. We'll see what Jay thinks.
They're all really good. I agree. I think the candy cane might be my favorite. I really like that cherry flavor. But yeah, they're all really good. I was actually going in expecting this to be the worst thing we tried today, but all 3 of these are actually really strong contenders.
Yeah, honestly, it's going to be hard to choose.
Honestly, if I the goldfish crackers are maybe a little dirty. Like my hands feel a little gritty, grimy after reaching into the bag. And so maybe that's enough to like say those are probably the worst of the 3. And when that's the deciding factor for your bottom one, like that says something.
I'm going to say Milano bottom for me, then Warheads, then Goldfish for my favorite based on taste.
That's the thing. They're all unique flavors. They all kind of taste different, which I
Going
think
in for
is.
some more of these maple syrup goldfish, Jay.
I think my middle one I would probably give to the Warheads. I like that. I do think they're pretty strong, but like there's nothing. They're different shapes, but they're not different flavors. But these are better gummies than I think you get a lot of places these days. A lot of times you constantly complain about how bad gummies are. These are pretty tasty gummies.
These are good gummies. I'll give them that.
And I think the number one slot would go to the Milano peppermint slices. I also know you're not as big a peppermint guy as I am.
Yeah, it's true.
So I think that
I do enjoy a peppermint, but not as much as you.
but yeah, all three I think really good. I think this time we kind of have three winners. Go out and get all three of these things.
Yeah. I would recommend all of them.
But yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to send us an email, ask us a question. It doesn't even have to be Christmas horror movie related. It could be just about anything. Send us an email at horrorfortheholidays@gmail.com. Be a part of our Garbage Day segment. If you want to get in touch with us on social media, we will be live either tweeting or blue skying or threading along with Joe Bob on this coming Friday, this coming Friday for us. I guess it will have been 2 Fridays previously for our listeners.
Maybe you can shoot out on our social media. We're going to be doing it.
Yeah.
That way somebody might show up.
But yeah, if someone wants to get in touch, get in touch with us on social media, we are on all of those websites: Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads. The Q app makes our decisions for our movies, and we are at Horror the number 4 Holidays.
Where we go one, we go all for the Q app. YouTube.com/horror for the holidays for all of your horror for the holidays needs. Drop us a comment so I can argue with you. Like our things. Press the bell so that after you subscribe, press the bell because the bell is the real subscribe button now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Half the time, if you don't press that, you won't get notifications we've done a new video.
No, man, I'm gonna be the Q app shaman for storming up to Spyglass headquarters demanding they make Scream a Christmas movie.
No, we really need to leverage our Q power to force them to make Jack Frost 3.
Oh man, that would be a real test of our power. It won't work.
It might. When he gets back, Jay, he's coming back. We should wait for him in Dallas.
But yeah, leave us a rating on your podcatcher of choice. Give us 5 stars. Write about us eating into the microphone.
Jeff and Jay so fat can't stop eating for literally one podcast.
You know, being dumb pieces of shit. You know, stumbling through their words, stumbling over words, cutting each other off, cutting the guests off when we have guests.
Critmas, Jay.
Yeah.
It's Critmas.
Yeah, do all those things. You know, we'll only take your feedback into account on the podcatcher apps if your feedback is a 5-star review.
Yes. Go ahead and send us some emails for our Garbage Day segment, like our kind friend Spencer did.
Yep. And otherwise, thanks for listening. Have a Merry Christmas.
Indeed. Merry Christmas.
Certainly, if you're listening to this on Christmas, that's great. If not, and you're listening to it a couple days later, like, maybe you made the right choice. You don't need to listen to these 2 fat idiots.
Yeah, we might be getting a stocking stuffers out sometime, too. So if you're hearing this and there isn't one, then we failed.
Yeah. Or if you're hearing this and one's coming out a couple days later, then we succeeded.
Yes. Keep your eyes open.
Yep.
Let us know how big of a failure we are.
Very big.
Oh, yeah. If we're going by math, very big.
But otherwise, thanks for listening.
Of course, Jay Logsdon is holding me hostage at the Varsity Theater again tomorrow night.
Yeah. Which, once again, will have been like 2 weeks previous.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a blast at Black Christmas, and we had a blast at Krampus. We had a blast at Anna and the Apocalypse, and we're going to have a blast again at Dial Code Santa Claus. But yeah, thanks for listening. Merry Christmas. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Merry Christmas. Goodbye.
Bye. Jeff, you'll be visited by 3 ghosts this Christmas.
Oh, no.
The ghosts of all the bad movies we've watched.
No, not them. Can't it just be the regular ghosts?